morning.
No, I'm meeting with them tomorrow to discuss the date. So I just let it know. Do you want me to send you the presentation
This week.
or present it to the council next?
Recording in progress. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. We are ready to go. Old business. Review your calling program.
Yeah, I guess it's an update. I had sent requests out to COG managers asking if they do deer calling. The majority of municipalities don't have it. Many use suburban whitetail management. Fox Chapel apparently has an in-house program through the police department that works very well. But I've been back and forth trying to schedule a call with their manager and their police chief. I have to do that in the next week to find out exactly how they administer it. I do know that on Fox Chapel's website, there is a form that a property owner can fill out if they are interested in having an archer hunt their property. So as soon as I talk to Fox Chapel, I'll once you know what I found. I know we need to do this as soon as possible. Apparently somebody out there hasn't worked.
Somebody join Sam. Join you.
Can I call? Well, I don't know if we're gonna have our police department minister or somebody else. They just happen to do it in Fox Chapel that way. So I'll just gather the information I can. If I need to ask questions, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Good. Next. Update on Saw Radio coverage.
The RFP, I'm just tweaking a couple of things in it, but I will have it to council on Friday for review and then discussion at the next council meeting.
Okay. Well, already has update on M4 program.
Okay, I'll just do an introduction. As you may recall, there are 4 projects that we are attempting to do under the MS4 program, which is supposed to be completed by the end of next March. So far, we haven't started on any of them. 2 of them are stormwater detention facility retrofits, and 2 of them are stream bank restorations. There are varying levels of difficulty in tackling all of the projects. The Matterhorn detention pond, we're ready to get the specs out there as soon as possible, but we want to combine that with the Ramblewood detention pond. Ramblewood detention pond, it's been suggested we discuss an executive session because there may be property acquisition for an easement. The 2 stream bank restoration projects, one of them is Bear Run. That's along Montgomery Road, and that project we're in pretty good shape on to get moving, although we probably won't be starting construction on that until likely next year. So we'll be able to show DEP we've made progress. Fish Run, the problem has been the property that the HOA thought they owned, which is still owned by the developer. But we spoke with a property owner on Shadowbrook. He actually owns 25 acres that extends from Shadowbrook all the way down to Grand Skull Road near Pine Creek Road. He owns all of Fish Run along that way. It's all on his property. And Justin and I met with him last week, and he's agreeable to having us use his driveway as the access point for that project, which is huge. It's right off of Shadowbrook. But of course, we found out the first 75 feet are actually owned by the homeowner at the very end of Shadowbrook, and he has a right of way. So we need to figure out how we might need, I don't know if we need permission from the homeowner, but
I know that homeowner pretty well. He's the one that bought the house at the fire. He knows. Oh, he's a really nice guy. I think he'd be very.
Well, Mr. Gross said it's actually owned by a widow.
This guy, Joe that bought the house right beside me is the last house on, what's the No, off of Brand School that goes back there. The Gold Bar. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
I thought Gold Bar is right.
No, we won't. We'll be actually coming right off Shadowbrook.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Gross knows the people on Gold Bar as well, but that would be a tough access.
But he owns the last house on Gold Bar, which is the stream goes right.
Yeah, there used to be a driveway accessing the house on Shadowbrook from the end of Gold Bar, but they've abandoned that and they got permission. Shadowbrook. The problem, we still have, that gives us the access so that we can go ahead and lease and, apply for the permit with DEP, but, we still need to work out ideally, the HOA property so that we can get to the borough property from the Shadow Brook property without, if we have to access the borough property from, Wedgewood, it's gonna be extremely difficult. So we'd rather access it from Shadow Brook, just driving up the valley. But we have a few months now to figure that out. We just need to have the property owner in Shadow Brook sign off, that he consents to give us permission so we can include that with our application. Anything to add, Justin?
That was pretty good description. Bear Run, just update on the permit, just ongoing, really no update, which is good. Fish Run, the JPA will go in this month. Just got the signatures today. So we'll get that JPA joint permit application clock ticking with DEP, which is a long one, that's 6 to 9 months, possibly longer. So, yeah, I think you've covered it pretty well.
We're hoping that we can do the, 2 detention facilities this year and the stream bed restorations next year. We'll discuss in executive session.
Yeah, is that deadline solid?
DEP supposedly is still, my understanding is they're still in mode of encouragement and not laying down the law. So they will, if we could show that we're making progress, hopefully since they've administratively extended it 2 years, they will, the permit cycle actually has been extended for 2 years, even though they haven't changed the deadline for when the work has to be done. I'm sure we're not the only community in that position.
I'm sure that.
And I don't think, we're hoping they won't find us. I don't think they will. I think if we could show that we're underway with it.
Well, we certainly are in the way.
We expect to have the work done by the end.
No way I can predict what they're going to say. I tend to believe, but I don't know, that they might have a little leniency depending on where you're at in that process. You know, if you have permits in hand, almost permits in hand, and you've got something bid or constructed, builds a better case to please have some mercy on me.
And we're doing all that.
We are trying very hard here.
Okay. Update on concrete curb.
Okay, there's multiple aspects of this. First, Cardinal Ridge and Deerfield Estates, both agreeable to go into that spot. So that's an easy one to get out of the way. Colombo, Sean and Max and I talked, and then I talked to Gary afterward. We had concerns about simply paying them to go away. So we were trying to figure out if there was some way that we could still have them fulfill the contract, but in a different way. Like maybe choosing a small cul-de-sac that has some issues with the curb. Have them go in and just do that whole cul-de-sac. Now, we don't have to deal with that cul-de-sac again for 15 years. So I asked Gary to take a look at our roads and make a recommendation to council on what he thinks we might be able to do so that we can still pay Palumbo and they can still do work for us that is beneficial.
I checked with Palumbo, the amount of curb that we have left with them is 2,773 feet. I started looking at some of the streets, Antrim Court, Ashbury. Antrim Court would be a good cul-de-sac to get in and remove all the curbs and do the complete cul-de-sac and curves. That was approximately 770 feet. If we went down Ashbury Lane, which is directly across the street from it, 3/4 of that is concrete curb. There are one end section, the end section on that has asphalt curbs. So I mean, we can get in there and, you know, possibly replace down to that point if we want to do that, or we can actually look at, you know, maybe another area, another cul-de-sac somewhere else that might give us, you know, but we're already looking, probably most of the cul-de-sac areas are probably going to be like Antrim Court, probably somewhere between 700 and 1,000 feet, possibly on the curve. So I looked at Sandhurst Drive, just to get an idea on Sandhurst Drive. If we did both sides of that all the way up, we're looking at about 3,100 feet, 3,100 feet. So we'd have some additional that we'd add on to the contract with Palumbo if we wanted to add more. They already did the 200 and some feet that they have up in, they started up in Brimfield and Brimfield Court. Now, there's one other area in Sturbridge. There's a section in Sturbridge that wasn't done. We're figuring about 360 feet up in there. So if we took that Antrim cul-de-sac at 770 feet, the Sturbridge at the 360, you know, we still got probably another, probably what, 1,200 feet, 1,400 feet. We'd have to look in some other area. Probably do it. There's plenty of areas out there we can cul-de-sacs or stretches of road. How do you look over like King John, King Henry? King Henry would be another cul-de-sac over there. That's 1,350 feet on that one. It's a little longer stretch going down into King Henry. Because those streets at some point here in the next year, we were looking to get over in the plan over there and probably do a paving of it. Or, you know, Sandhurst, King Henry, King John, King Albert, all those are in that area over there. So there was quite a few bad areas that we have those too. So it wouldn't be hard to find any area we can get in. If we
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, we would then have to obviously tear that out and replace it with asphalt. So the question is, do we want to, do you still want to pursue some kind of a settlement with Palumbo to go away, or what's the concern, Max?
So, yeah, partially, and I, in terms of the change to the structure, I thought they weren't gonna start until a bit later. We used to sign the contracts in September. It wasn't until the next year, and changed that around a bit. So they have done some preliminary work. They've mobilized, they've gone away, they're coming back. And I don't know, when we heard their first number, I did check the contract again. There was no termination for convenience, no guidelines. We have terminations for clause don't require or don't fall here. So my concern was, you know, almost from the fiduciary duty of using taxpayer money in this sense, because the concerns are, you know, long-term maintenance, but also just the aesthetics of it. So that's why in the conversations, can we find some area rather than boom, 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 where they can just hit a whole street, you know, use up the amount that's in the contract, you'll get, you know, essentially a brand new concrete curb and not just sections, you know, not throughout the borough, but on one street. That's fantastic.
That would last more than 15 years. I'm
Right,
guessing,
yeah.
you would get probably a 30-year.
well, yeah, you'd be, if they replace the curb, you'd get 30, 40 years out of it probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
probably,
yeah.
I mean, that's what a lot of these older plans have. And then, as I stressed too, is at Sturbridge, I do wanna, I would like to stress the point that Sturbridge only has that one small section left to go. We already did
Yeah, it's
the section, it's Brimfield Court, part of Sturbridge, Gloucester, they were all done already with the curb, so it's not gonna hurt us.
I would definitely.
360 feet there, and we'd be done with that for at least a while, you know.
Yeah.
But then whatever.
I mean,
whatever
my
the-
concern is we just went to Deerfield and we should switch to asphalt curb.
Well, but yeah, because those were new and coming in.
Yeah.
This one, we have a signed contract, they don't have any claim, no, we know these were throughout. That's a lot of money to be getting out of something that you could perhaps reorient, because the way the contract's written, there is that flexibility. It wasn't do this section to this section, and then it's just give us a unit price for this much linear feet. We'll tell you where it goes, and we'd always gotten complaints from the contractor saying, well, you got like these little sections all throughout. That's not what I did. That's what I did. Yeah. So if there is something that can be identified, there might be, you know, something to consider, you know, what type of impact that is on the neighborhood, instead of like they get hit, a couple and then the person's gone, how long it would take them to do a cul-de-sac. Would you be mad that their entire street is being redone, but at the end of the day, it's a good product. It's gonna look
Right.
uniform. It's gonna be there long term. And this sort of policy change goes into effect for next
And that
year.
would benefit Palumbo too, because they wouldn't have to have all the statements
a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. I think it's good hearing you feel confident in picking out the ones that we should
Yeah, I mean,
do.
I could, like I said, I could do that, and there's always, you know, you always probably, you know, you could probably, maybe they, you know, if we had a couple that wanted to get the full 3,000. What he's maybe they would say, hey, you know, that's
Right,
good.
right,
You
yeah,
know,
whatever
they'd be
Yeah, they
happy
may
with-
take something less.
They might take less on that, so they might not have to do as much.
Right.
Right, right,
But,
yeah.
And it's probably a good approach to take.
Yeah, might be a, you know, wise thing to do, ask them that, see if they, you know, if we put another 15. Like I said, we need to do 2,773 feet to get them up to the 3,000 foot mark, so, I mean, if we throw something in it, maybe, or we end up at 2,000 feet, they might be happy enough and say, you know, being busy with other, you know, projects and
Right.
things, they might.
Gary, can I ask you a question? Is there other work that you're, other than the concrete curbs, is there other concrete work on these streets in the way of like catch basins or inlets or something that I don't know if you typically have to rebuild any of those as you're doing the paving.
We always do that, that's part of what we always do that before we pave them.
So you
When I know a street's being paved, we get in there, months ahead of time and we make sure all the basins, all our basin work's done. We have to replace the C-tops on them, the frames, whatever. That's all in place before the paving even comes, so, you know, and then the C-tops, they're already a precast concrete, so you take them, you know, cut them out, take them out, put them back in one piece, so, Palumbo wouldn't be doing them as far as pouring them. You know, the only thing they do is the wings up to them.
I was just wondering if we needed some additional work to come up for the amount of the contract, could we substitute other work, or you would rather limit to just the curb? Okay.
Because we didn't, I mean, I came to a change order, but if you're sort of doing a new scope of work or something, you've got issues that would need to be done separately.
I mean, it'd still be concrete work in conjunction with the paving and the street, so it's not like a super big change. Understand.
Like I said too, is it, you know, if they do want to go with they want the full 3,000 feet, you know, it's not gonna be hard. Not gonna be hard to, you know, lay it out there for them for something to do. Now, we had those, which we're gonna probably talk about, we're just gonna talk about a little bit too here as far as the paving part. As we pulled roll Fire Ridge plan off of there, because it was like 1,400 feet, that we had to do in curves. We didn't want to get in there, piece all the small stuff again, so we pulled that off, and then basically we're looking to, you know, do some other paving and elsewhere too, so. You know, there's, like I said, there's those streets, like, you know, there's plenty out there we can get.
Okay. Council go with that approach, and I think it makes sense. All right.
like to say that.
Okay. New business, July facts, review the agenda.
We got the special guests coming in, so
They're all committed. They're all committed. Wow.
somebody other, maybe not the actual representative, but a representative of the representatives.
Good.
Yeah. No rings. So yes, no, but other than that, no public hearings scheduled. Only ordinance is the adoption for Windsor Court in the Willow Ridge Plan. Those letters have gone out to the residents for the borough code. Sections of the new street. So that's all set up. That's motions 4 and 5. As of now.
We hope to add motions for the contract and the playground break line. I got an initial response from DCNR. They just want to make sure, first of all, that anybody we sign a contract with understands that there are certain obligations they have. There's specific wording that DCNR wants to be included as part of the contract. So we'll get that all ironed out. Do they agree to it or find somebody else?
Either agree to it or
Take
they
it or
don't
leave
get
it.
paid.
6 motions. Tends to grow. Okay. All right, words from staff. Cindy.
Everybody has my written report. The only thing I forgot to put on there is that I'm working on the mid-year budget review, which is coming up on July 19th. So stay tuned for all the fun details of where we're at. for June 30, that. And then the technology committee has a meeting tomorrow night. I think minutes were in the packet from the last meeting. We did talk about some things at that last meeting. They had some recommendations about that they don't have they didn't put a formal memo or anything together about like, multi-factor authentication, things like that. But on a larger scale, we're gonna be working on an IT policy document that Andy had shared with the TAC. So I guess I just wanted to know from council, do you guys want to wait? Do you want the recommendations on like the multi-factor authentication items prior to reviewing the whole IT policy document, which is a large document that I think, what do you think, Andy? Couple of meetings of the TAC to review.
The multi-factor authentication could stand on its own.
Okay,
It'll be done much faster. When you're writing a policy manual, that can take months.
take months.
Yeah, I
So
think
maybe-
that's a pretty important
Okay,
security.
so maybe at tomorrow's meeting, then we'll talk about those in the minutes. I'll have them put together a formal memo for the next packet of their formal recommendations from the minutes. And then we'll work on the policy document.
One thing on those things, and I did notice that it's usually in minutes though. Committees will list who was at the meeting. They didn't do that, they just listed the members of the committees. And they could-
Yeah,
That's-
say who's
that's-
present, who's not present.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that.
that's-
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Should go. Okay, yeah, that's all I have.
Question for Cindy.
This meeting is on Teams only, it's not.
No, it's live, it's hybrid. So I'll be here tomorrow night. It'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, so somewhere we got a notice, I get those text messages that it was here at the Borough Building.
It is tomorrow night here. Yep,
Okay.
first Thursday. We list them as hybrid because I think a couple, they just the TAC wanted flexibility. I think one of the members travels quite a bit, so,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll plan on to be hybrid, but live and available.
Thank you.
I believe Donna will be attending that virtually as well because she's kind of taking on a lot of the website responsibility.
Yeah,
So she wants to hear the website. stuff.
yeah, I think she's coming. She asked
Oh,
me.
she
if
did?
She's gonna come, yeah, because this is the year for the website refresh, so we'll be talking about that tomorrow, which, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And Andy pulled all the information from the website bot, so we'll start that tomorrow.
Gary,
Along with my report, I mentioned on there that we had, milled Georgetown Drive and Fox Chase Drive. Fox Chase Drive is now paved. We did a binder on it, at the end of last week, binder course. Finished it up with a wearing course today. We have some pricing cleanup and then, we have to get in there and seal all the joints and stuff on it to finish that job. Georgetown Drive right now, Gary Sickles, at the time when we talked about Georgetown Drive, he was gonna do the third work. He started that today. They got quite a bit tore out. So once they finish up with the third work, then we'll get back in there, pave that and finish that. That part of it, yeah. As far as paving there, as I mentioned in my previous talk there, that, we're talking about, Rollo Drive. I had taken Reeves with me and we took a ride and looked at a couple streets because we were planning on taking Rollo off the list with the curbs because of the amount of work that needed done on there. We're planning on probably at some point pulling those curbs out and doing asphalt in there whenever we do pave that. So we were thinking about, switching the roads on what we're gonna pave, and we took a look at, State Ganglands Road and Lyman Road. State Ganglands Road is pretty bad shape on where is that, so I'm gonna recommend that we get down and pave that point of, pave, Ganglands Road and Lyman Road. I think it's changed,
Well, it is rough on there at the bottom and stuff. How much do we have, like first half a mile or something like that?
There's, that goes back actually further. What happened is there a while back when that road actually, when you went past, I guess it's Elias that lives on the corner there, or lives on the, right across from Lyman where that is. When you went past their house, it was only like 100 feet down the road. It used to be the borough line. It originally, when I first started here, stopped back there. They moved it back because, Marshall Township said, the line was in the wrong place when we started putting up the signs that we put up for the borough that said entering into Franklin Park. we found out that the line was pretty far back, so we're looking probably close to 3/4 of a mile there, all the way back through, so.
A lot of that road doesn't have curbs, so it's a little bit easier job in that respect. You can actually see where the line is, because Marshall repaved recently.
Yeah.
And there's a street that goes up to the left and you come. start up there.
That's Wyman Road.
That's Wyman Road.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's another part, that's the other part that I want to do too. So you get in there, you can both done and it will not go back in there. But there's no curb on any part of that road. And, other than that, that's probably, I think, all I have on my report there.
Any question? They opened up Devon Drive, somebody opened up Devon Drive a couple days ago, did they tell you anything about it? Or they didn't open it up?
On the roads, no.
Yeah. You're reaching and finding one, yeah. But.
Oh, what color?
Westview, probably Westview Water. Westview never contact, they've never contacted me on any of thing at other time.
Does MTSA reach out to you when they're doing work?
MTSA does, People's Gas does, Columbia does, they always call in and
Yeah, I did.
actually, they always get a permit when they do it, the Columbia Gas and People's,
But not
Westview
the
is
water
never-
authority.
no.
They opened it up, including, my neighbor's driveway, like the apron in the driveway. But I will say the patch is neat and tight.
Yeah, I drove over, it's
To see, right? Yeah.
some of the best work at this Westview.
Yeah.
Work they've done.
It's also smooth. It's not, so I think that's what we want to go for when we're telling people what their permits require.
Perfect.
That
Yeah,
look.
They finally did King James, though it's a year and a half late.
Great. Good.
Yeah, I think they wait a long period of time for everything to sell.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to do.
Yeah.
The ones they had on, West End Mall, they just finally did those, but.
This was in and out.
They cut those, they put those in, they put the little part of the curves back in, so waiting for them to come back in. Hopefully they put the little curves back on,
Yeah,
but that's all I have.
that's it. More questions for Gary? Tim?
So this month we have a planning commission meeting and we'll be reviewing the draft comp plan. And also we have a conditional use application for a garage larger than 1,000 feet. Not a garage, an accessory use building is actually a mother-in-law's quarter. If they want to put an addition on, and that will make it over 1,000 square feet in Belmont. And then the zoning hearing board has an application for appeal on Camp Meeting Road. Gentleman there has 2 dwelling units on a property and he's using one for a rent. So.
You see that one?
And he wrote an arrow saying that he's
Yeah.
grandfather.
That's what he says. And I checked back to the beginning of time and couldn't do it then either. So. Put gloves on. Have you seen this coming yet?
Yes. And I talked briefly to Gary Gusher. Yeah, I don't think we don't have any waiver complaints or otherwise, but it's a little sketchy.
Well, we have a tax collector complaint because one of the houses hasn't been paying taxes for 30-some years or whatever. Because it's there.
It's a very small thing. We did away with just somehow, I understand it. It sounds like they work properly.
It is, yes.
It's very slow. Yeah, it's
It's
not.
caretaker.
It'll be interesting. So, and then might have my report and questions on that.
Hearing none. Appreciation, Zach.
You have my report. We're in the middle of camp season essentially. We have 5 camps. This is our only off week for the rest of summer. We'll have 5 camps the rest of this month alone. Couple new ones we're trying out this year, so hopefully right now we're fully booked up. We have the largest numbers we've had in a long time, especially for sports camp. I think the first week we had like 240. Then we dropped last week to about 200 and we're back at like 238 for next week. So a lot of kids, a lot of camp going on, and a lot of rentals. We're booked every chance we have through the month of July, outside of, the event phase. But other than that, we got the Acorn answer. We'll fix that. We'll get that cleaned up for so the motions go on. That's what we're doing.
Any update on the flowers at, Foliage?
They're in,
They're in.
Haven't heard a
they've been
thing.
in since the day after last meeting, so.
I was up there and I tried them.
That's the one complaint. They sound great. We haven't heard a thing.
No, because they're very. Yeah, that was good.
They're
Like, I
around
actually-
the base, but other than that, they've been in about a month.
Great job on the festival.
Thanks. So,
I like it so much I went back and played it again. Jack, what a wonderful job managing the festival.
And a lot of good compliments. It was quite a hectic day.
overall, it was, short of losing that one food truck, it went well. Especially for how much more stuff we had to have there. You know, just the band alone being 5 times the size of the normal group that we would normally have there. Like I said, it went well. We didn't, at least they weren't brought to me, which is, they weren't brought to me, thank you. Nothing was brought to me other than the food issue. But like I said, we lost the truck to an accident earlier in the day.
Before they ever got there.
Before you ever got there, that's the thing. You know, we planned for 6, only had 5, so yeah, we ran out of food about 7 o'clock for some of the trucks. We did have a truck open until about 8 o'clock, so.
With all the food vendors, they were very well prepared for a good sellout. So.
And we had 3 normals, and 3 new. Well, I should say, we had 2 normals and 3 news. One of the trucks is also a director for a different municipality. So they kind of had, even though they were a new truck, they kind of knew what to expect crowd wise. So they prepared well. And overall, like I said, if we had that truck 6, I think we go till 8:30 before anybody sells out.
And all of them had a good supply of water.
Yes, I heard that was the big in demand thing.
But I could tell you that toward the end of the night, especially when we got to the fireworks, I was getting asked questions, where can we get some water? You know, so it's maybe something we want to think about. We could do anything with having water available outside of the
I mean, we as a borough have it for all of us and the performers and stuff. I don't know. I've never wanted to get into a selling thing when we are having a
No.
vendor there to sell.
I'm thinking, could we have, I'm really just.
Yeah.
Throwing it up. Could we have something like a water buffalo? People can. I have no idea how expensive it is. All I'm saying is I did have people come and ask me when to get water. But when the vendors were no longer available to give it out.
Certainly something we can look into,
Yeah.
price out and see if it's beneficial to us or not for next year. I mean, if it was, we got lucky with weather too. It wasn't 90 degrees out like usual.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was a little warm, but it was definitely not sweltering like usual.
Overall, a wonderful job. And lots of compliments.
Did want to mention Jim and his crew did a really nice job getting the park set up too, and the extra parking spaces and everything.
Lines definitely help.
I don't know if people had a chance to visit the history display with that. We're going to put that together with help from the,
Wonderful job on there with Donna and so much history there. What I felt bad about when I went up there to just go through it was I was like one of 2 people there, you know, and it just wasn't getting much. In fact, I have no idea how we could have ever tied that in, but there was so much, I know there was so much work that was put into that.
that just follows along with everything else history wise. We just haven't had much response at all. Doesn't seem to be much interest in this.
I'm sorry, Reece,
Doesn't seem to be much interest in the history in the borough. I mean, we've had that all along.
And George Martin was stationed up there, fire
Yes.
police, and he indicated that while there wasn't a lot, there was a number, a stream kind of off and on.
Yes, off and on.
We would tell people when they were parking, you know, that was really the only way you could think of. If you need to cool off, stop in there and check things out.
Some of those items are now on display at the Northern Allegheny Heritage Center.
Yeah, wonderful. So much work went into that I was part of Donna and also the, library, right? Abby, am I right? Abby, the library. And, I helped a little bit with that, but very, very little, just going through boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. It was a major project. Thanks to Donna for her leadership on that. She did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I was up there for probably a good half hour. Dr. Lee was there with his family at the same time, and I would say there was what, 15, 20 people in there at the time we were there.
Yeah.
That was early on, when Luke was doing traffic outside, so I find that stuff extremely interesting, and I found a lot of stuff. I did go to Inglebar Junior High School, junior high, when I went through the school district, and actually found a lot of stuff from the '60s, which is when I was there. So I was actually good. Find people's names and principals and everybody else.
Walk down memory lane.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, like, you know, it was a good experience. And it was really nicely put together.
Oh, was
So, kudos to everybody that worked on that. Donna was there for briefly when I got there, and then she ran somewhere else.
Yeah, she was going back and forth.
Very nicely done.
Anything else for Zach? Golf report.
Well, I want to ask that, did we, how'd we do with, and do we have anything in the way of people needing wheelchair vans, that all just worked out?
Worked out. Didn't hear any, like
Nothing.
that, nothing was brought to me about anybody needing transport outside of the closer parking or anything.
Those closer parking spots were definitely utilized. Those close parking spots were definitely utilized.
Yes,
I don't think they ever got.
so we were pretty much able to
You know,
handle.
we kept monitoring though. We really had to watch that closely because people wanted to go down no matter what you said.
Right,
We unfortunately had a sign that displayed it was handicap on. Natural to get as close as you can, so they challenged us a bit. Did that remind, what was the utilization of the auxiliary lots? I understand FPS was pretty full and the YMCA was, or was?
Was not.
Was
What
not.
did we, one bus go there at the end of the night? The barrel?
Yeah, but
Maybe two?
a lot of people left earlier, like, it was crazy in the beginning with like the parking 4 to 5, and then 6:37, a lot of people were heading home.
We were done, so, I mean,
Yeah.
we stopped letting people in at 6, right? And that it was done.
Yeah, at 7:38.
Yeah, then we opened it up again because it kept starting, this back and forth.
Yeah, I think
And
it
that's,
was,
I think in the end, that was the right way to do it.
Yeah.
To open it back up.
Those buses coming from Franklin, they were pretty full.
yeah, Franklin
Yeah,
bus,
they
they
were.
were, he said, I think Farrell was underutilized,
Well, yeah, it makes
but I
sense.
think it probably needed to be done. Like, I
Right,
don't
I
think we
agree.
could have fit everybody in that.
Yeah, the question, does it set a precedent? I have to deal with it next year.
Right.
That's up to you and what budget you give.
also the police and the fire, did such a wonderful job.
And opening up the yard waste lot, you
Yes.
know, and that was a good
Good
decision.
idea.
Yeah, and the spots along Glensway, we've got a lot of cars.
Do we know how many, do we have even a guesstimate how much more was here this year?
There's no gatekeeper.
Well,
Yeah, especially since we're on the field, there's just no
No
possible.
way to guess that.
Nobody's running
called-
through it like.
I bet it wasn't double.
It was a lot more, because one thing I noticed, and my granddaughter was at the face painting thing there for about half hour. She did 3 different lines, and I was sitting there by the pavilion, and I noticed the 4 women were lined out the women's restroom.
Yeah, I didn't see any port.
The men could go right in, but the women.
Oh,
That's now,
30 of them.
we got put on the list for next year.
Yeah,
It's-
cause they were out like 15, 20
Were they?
women, yeah. get into I was shocked when I saw it.
I just happened to be
Yeah,
waiting
that was
there for her to get her face painted. I'm thinking, these poor women, man.
And I should say we always have a line for them. There's what, three? There's three. Yeah, there's three spots. But usually it's like 5 people.
Yeah.
There was quite a line this time, and that's,
It was
we're gonna
consistent.
have
It was
to bring in
consistent.
a few for next year.
Were there any issues with them using the men's room? So the one time I went, they were getting out there and trying to get in. I didn't know if that was.
There's gonna be one stall in
Right,
there,
it's,
so.
That
It's
was-
not gonna be much.
I'm sure they do like they do.
I didn't notice that in previous years, I mean, because I was, I never noticed it backed up like that prior years. That's why I was just wondering, didn't come up with quite a few more people.
Oh, yeah, crowds were larger, for sure, yeah, but twice, 1.5, I can tell you.
In the actuarial world, when we couldn't get our hands on actual data, we did what's called a quactuarial evaluation. And I think in this case, it was 25 to 50% more than the previous year.
Oh, it's kind of nice.
It really, it was amazing. The traffic and the continual flow back and forth. Not everybody stayed for the fireworks. There was a
No.
lot of people who came and then left before because they sensed they didn't want to be there again. I don't know.
We exited before the fireworks. I had to go to kids don't want to sit.
Yeah, younger, a lot of them.
The River City Brass Band, they were spectacular too.
Yeah.
They played, after the fireworks, they played for another good half hour.
Really?
Yeah, really. Too bad we couldn't hear them.
Yeah, good, we didn't know.
Actually, the fireworks were very good, just sitting right there at the stage.
Yeah.
It's like they were.
That's what we told everybody. There's not really a bad spot to watch them.
No.
No.
I think the band that you used before, it had been before that.
But did you?
Chris James, you would have a
Yeah, we have, he's been our headliner the last 2 years.
A year and
I have an inside track,
Yeah.
we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
He-
Nationals.
I was gonna say, he's not super easy, but we have it, and he actually, his real job is at, Orchard Church. And then my wife used to work with this one, so, yeah,
All right.
we get favored a little bit.
All right, moving right along. Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
Congratulations to everybody involved for sure. Jim.
My report, park side of it, is pretty much as usual. Saw the baseball lighting, looking into options for that.
We're gonna have to fit, I mean, we have to get the whole bill for that. And they're utilizing the heck out of those fields for plans.
I mean, it's certainly not us using them, we'll put it that way.
Probably like field, probably, like, 1 and 2, because they are decent poles. You're getting into a wooden pole situation, you think, there's liability there if they come down. Vessel at that one last year that came down. So,
The year before that, so.
so, putting more on that to try to like field 4, if we're looking at options is kind of,
Do you wanna do that before we orient field 4 and do stuff up there? What do you think?
well, we gotta figure out, what we need to do. But that was just, we looked at Musco originally because they are, field 1 is Musco lighting, but the volleyball and the pickleball, basketball is Musco, and it's controlled from someplace in Iowa. They know how many hours are on the bulbs. They can control on and off. So it is a good system. It's just not cheap. So we can look at there's other companies out there, and at least that's a good line from where they started at. And, that all comes in the comprehensive plan, what we're doing with the snack shack, moving stuff, things like that too. But right now they're in 2 different buildings. So if we're able to get that all into one building, depending on what we do, snack shack wise. That's the other thing too, field 4, there's not enough power to add light, the light we need for it. If we're just throwing 1 or 2 more up, just kind of lighting, to get by, but to do it properly, with proper lighting, which is probably what you're playing baseball, just you get shadows, it's trying to catch a fly ball in the shadow, might be bad as well.
8-year-olds, they can't catch.
No. The golf course side of it, the rain definitely helped. Probably a little more than we wanted at the moment, but we're still busy. Conditions are well. The biggest thing for this month, obviously, is the scholarship outing. Much help as we can get with getting teams, we're about halfway there for what I think we're like 44 or 48 people now, so we're trying to get the minimum of 100. We do have our main sponsor, still need a lunch sponsor, if anybody knows, for a good lunch sponsor. I think we have 2 or 3 lunch sponsors. I think it's 2 lunch sponsors, and we could add a second title sponsor as well.
How much is that?
I don't have it on me. Yeah. So,
2,500.
yeah, Slider Downs is, they do it every year. Usually we have a second one. So yeah, we're, the 24th is the date, and kind of need a date or a number for the club, at least a week or 2 in advance, so. If anybody knows teams and force them to come out, we can definitely. Try to get to that number.
Vacation.
Any neighbors or anybody else?
I did speak to my neighbor next door, the one that's renting the house that had the fire, and he's an avid golfer, as long as I can run. And this was just Sunday, and he said he'd be all interested, so I printed out the form and took it over to him. And so hopefully he sees that, and he's gonna kind of rustle up the course.
Yeah, and I have forms at the golf course as well. If anybody is looking for forms of thought, they can always stop by and take one.
You already have a written document that you can share, that we can.
There's one on the website.
It's on the website, Donna has it on the website.
Oh, okay.
She has that.
Okay.
You can print right off of that, from the sponsors to your
Okay.
course as
All right.
well.
I'll do that.
I'll send it to you then.
And then that's all I got.
Okay. Question?
One other comment, when I was on the school board, and happened at a couple different events, but at the time, Mike Cherzai was our state rep, and he was able to get some money for the fields. I got for the North Allegheny High School baseball field. I remember we got like a $300,000 or $400,000 grant from the state for that. And I don't know, maybe we should approach.
There is grants out there, what I understand, where that's switching to LED.
Maybe might be able, I don't know, but I just remember Mike, I think Mike helped with a grants over a 10-year period. It wasn't every year we were getting something, but 2 or 3 times, if my memory is right we were able to get some recreational grants just by contacting his
Well,
office.
that's what they're doing the wall. It was his last grant that he got done.
That's right. He did, I remember he did get that.
And I know the baseball association, they were trying to get some lighting for field 4. They did apply for a grant and they got the grant for 20,000, but it's 20,000. If you spend the 20,000 and in 2 years we have to move it anyways.
Yeah.
That's where that question comes in. They need an answer on that too. Is they need to either accept or deny that money.
It's just something to keep in mind when you see Arvin. By the way, he was at the festival. I met him a couple times. He's really fortunate.
Anything else for Jim? Okay. Engineer Sean.
Yes, thank you. It's just a couple of quick updates tonight, a copy of our report. A design project perspective, couple of permitting updates. Permit application for the stream crossing repairs in Newberry are into conservation district. We've made some good steps on Acorn Park, actually. Happy with progress there. Looking to wrap up permit application for the MPDS permit there soon. A lot of progress there over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully permit application this month, actually. Keep that one moving along. Talked about Palumbo and the curbs. And actually, from a development perspective, been a relatively quiet month. What we did look at it in great detail, but I saw an email today. We did get a bond reduction request for the Black Oak office building on Nicholson. And this afternoon, and I'll forward it to Kathy, and we'll coordinate with staff on timing as far as that to be a council agenda item. That was emailed a few hours ago, this afternoon.
Questions for council? All right. Dustin.
Yeah, I think we've probably covered MS4 pretty well. I don't have anything to add to that, but I did want to talk a little bit about the report for the CCTV inspections. So we had submitted a report back in May, and that report was based on some internal inspections of a portion of the borough's storm sewers, approximately 2,000 feet, just a small sample size. So what we did find, as suspected, there are some areas, could have been worse, by the way, for sure. But it's definitely something that could be better and is not going to get better with time. So what we did find is that, you know, there's portions of the borough that aren't mapped or mismapped. And then in addition to that, you know, a lot of the corrugated metal pipes, there's a lot of areas where the inverts are gone. So you have storm water that's leaving the pipe, undermining the pipe. And over time, of course, you know, that only gets worse. It never gets better. In addition to that, there's a lot of areas where there was debris in the pipe, so reducing pipe capacities. So overall, I think it would be prudent for the borough to consider some long-term and routine, possibly yearly maintenance to go in and document the condition, observe the condition, make repairs or maintenance, you know, flush some pipes, those types of things. Any questions about that?
What, were we still in that process of doing the mapping?
So the way we had written the proposal was we're going to do an initial examination.
Right.
And that's where we're at. So yes, we could, really next steps is up to council to determine.
Don't we need to know that before we put the plan together to know what we're gonna amortize it over time?
Well, we could certainly do more, and we could certainly try to project, you know, based on the sample size that we have, or if, you know, you would desire a larger sample size, you know, we can certainly do that as well. If you're looking for a projection, maybe a budget range to, hey, what is this going to, what should we budget per year over, say, a 10-year maintenance period? We could definitely take a look at doing something like that.
I would say we do. I think this is gonna be reflective of what we're gonna find out there. So I think it's time to start looking at what we think the total cost is going to be and start planning on doing this, Justin said, some kind of a 10-year program. To bring everything up to speed.
How does that work? You just map a new section and that becomes year one, and map another section that becomes year two?
It could be, yes. You may want to consider prioritizing more of the structural defects first. It's really more than
But how
just
do you know them if you haven't mapped it?
exactly, right? You have to know what you have and then what condition they're in, so that you can start to say, okay, we got to go determine what we need to do. Without that assessment, you're right, you're just guessing.
And you have to decide if you want to be proactive or reactive, just because it's tin whistle pipe that isn't decaying right now. It will be. But you might want to start thinking about something along the lines of what in Kansas City, where they replaced the whistle pipe the year before they would pave a road. That way you get ahead of it.
Where are we sitting with stormwater?
I mean, we sort of the ordinance, it's pretty simple aside from getting it up and running, but we do have the case that Commonwealth Court decided, questioning whether or not it's a fee or a tax. That is up on appeal at the Supreme Court. PWSA just got sued a couple months back in over the cemeteries throughout the city of Pittsburgh and their authority to charge citizens.
Kind of gave up on that.
Some municipalities are just doing it anyway, right? Because are they still charging the, these, call it something else?
No, I haven't seen anybody really change much. I mean, I've seen some surveys going out of people doing right to know requests and trying to get information.
Yeah.
We've been getting on Alcoasand and we have one. somebody's out there checking on things. I don't know if we have many new stormwater authorities come online. You still have the Dormonts, the ones that.
Yeah, they do doing their thing.
Yeah, ordinance change. You still have home rule charters that are considering.
So you think we're in a whole pattern there?
Yeah, I mean, this was part of it, is sort of what are we dealing with? What would we even
Yeah.
transfer to them if we created one? Because creating one is not the tough part. It's figuring out what you're giving them and what the responsibilities are.
For what it's worth, my son is interning with West Mifflin Sewer Authority. Because West Mifflin Borough just turned over the stormwater to the sewer. So he's out there GPSing outfalls and the GIS. I can meet with those guys. and see. I don't know if the sanitary authority.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think maybe Justin, you could put together a recommended plan using timeline of 10 years is reasonable. And I think we have to exclude the possibility of things, stormwater tax, stormwater fee.
You want to propose that or just see, go ahead and do it?
How to help me a proposal,
For
to do a
the-
proposal.
For the work you're asking.
Yeah, we probably should.
We do have, and we did not expend all of the original proposal. But well, there's quite a bit. There's a healthy bit. But
Okay. Right. Right, good. Good. Any more for stormwater? All right, Lieutenant.
Yeah, most of you guys know
Detective.
Sergeant Detective Aaron Leach. Or if you don't, it's Sergeant Leach. You all have my report, and anything I wanted to bring up, if you guys had any questions about the proposed changes to the civil service regulations.
I thought they all looked good, especially if they were in line with PSP.
Yeah, Detective Leach reached out to McCandless and Ross about their hiring and what their turnoffs were, and they were pretty low. It's difficult to get people in, so we cast a bigger net. Maybe we'll get more candidates in.
Do they still have similar requirements to what we have now?
Go ahead, Aaron. You looked into this. McCandless.
Yeah, some of them have changed their requirements. They're similar to the state police. A couple of them are a little bit variances of that, but everyone has a reduced number. However, those departments that have loosened up their requirements have seen more candidates.
The changes made sense.
For council's benefit, I fully support what they proposed. Good listen, any questions on anything else?
And when is your next civil service?
It's on Monday. We meet with the Civil Service Commission
They'll vote or make the recommendation and come back to council.
for the council meeting. Yes. Yep.
Can they still make the chief an administrator with his status? Or
Probably they'll have to make myself or Sergeant administrator, but we've been basically administering the test for the last 3 times.
Okay. Max, what's our report?
You have my written report. You have a couple items for executive session. One topic just to put out there, and I know both for us, Andy, and I don't know if like Microsoft, has a sale on SharePoint or something, but I've seen a number of municipalities are getting it. Larger client that just, announced that, hey, we've got this, everything's available on SharePoint now. Here's the board, format, here's everything else. I'm still kind of feeling my way around. We have SharePoint for uploading files, or if you're getting, large files that can't be emailed. Still sort of exploring and feeling my way around, the SharePoint from a municipal perspective. I do have some concerns, and I'll just put them out there, as well. That there are chat features, there are sort of collaboration features, from what I can see there. That Sunshine Act, just like it applies to the emails, will likely apply to newer technologies that have these collaborative features. And if there is a quorum of council deliberating, not so much as getting information or it's there or anything else, but if there becomes a discussion, a chat, something back and forth with comments, pros and cons about should we do something or shouldn't we? That is deliberation. That is what's frowned upon and occurring via email when everybody is on and having those discussions that should take place in a work session and public meeting or a regular meeting, a voting meeting. So I just put that sort of caveat out there. I haven't seen any, articles. I don't have any cases about that. I am learning it as well. I finally got access today. And he made some changes. I didn't have it last month, but I'm on it and otherwise. And there you go. And so it's just something to keep in mind as you're getting used to it as well and exploring and learning new things. Keep that in the back of your head. Deliberation needs to occur. Here.
Good point. It will come, but it's not part of it automatically. It makes sense. Anything else? Questions for Mac? Okay, moving right along. DEC report on stormwater, I think we're done with that.
Yeah.
Montgomery Road Water District.
I would suggest that, our back row panel, leave at this point.
If they choose.
No, even.
Darn. If they choose, right?
The active session is personnel and,
Okay.
division, so. yeah,
That's for work purposes.
You're always welcome to stay, but.
I don't know if we can get it.
Yeah.
We're still on the agenda, right?
We still have to.
Okay, all right.
Just get a reprieve.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we're not in executive session.
No,
No.
it's not executive, no.
Should I leave as well, Rick? I'm saying, or you want me to leave?
You can leave. If you want to leave, you can leave. You can stay if you want to stay.
Right.
I've never been a part of this, so I'm not sure what to expect. So. It's fine. I'll say.
She got you.
You'll
always be wondering if you know.
Will there be cake and ice cream?
Jesus.
No.
Trail mix.
Trail mix. I saw that. I was eyeing it up.
Right there.
Montgomery Road.
Yes, included in the packet was the estimate provided by, Westview Water for an extension of the water line on Montgomery Road. That includes, final paving. In speaking to the resident, spearheading that, I had mentioned that, the Montgomery Road needs repaved. So as far as I'm concerned, the borough would do final paving there. So that probably knocks that price down by about $100,000 overall, but it's still over $300,000 to extend that water line. Well, we were originally looking at taking it all the way to McAleer. Now we're taking it just to the last home. The last home that would go to, right now they are, their well has been filling for over a year now. They've got an extensive system in their basement that they actually showed Gary and I pictures of. To filter the water. That's just so they can use it for laundry and showers. They have to drink bottled water because it's not safe to drink. But they can't afford to extend it themselves and then wait for others to tie in. So it would require creation of a water district. And even at that point, I think there were 10 homeowners and that would be over $30,000 a piece, and that's still pretty pricey. I know there are grant funds out there potentially for things like extensions of water lines. Generally in the borough, it's the responsibility of the property owners to pay for a water line extension. But does council want to consider looking into any grants to help in that respect?
And I,
Why would we not?
the sample Hopkins Church Road agreement, just to refresh my recollection, how that one got set up and recall that we had a policy that if 66% of the residents in an area said they wanted to do it, we would sort of facilitate it and we would assess them on foot frontage or some type of, we would be involved. Hopkins Church couldn't get that 66%, so we did this alternative structure where those that wanted it agreed to split the cost evenly regardless of their foot frontage. We paid and had the line installed and essentially operated almost like a bank. And we took out municipal claims and liens and filed them against the property that they could pay off in time.
Just against the one.
Yes,
Yes.
and then new people that came in after the fact, there was
Within
there
10
was-
years,
Yeah.
which just expired this past March.
What would that mean?
It would be distributed
Kinda.
equally to those who paid up front.
Right, yeah, they covered the whole, the 50%, covered the entire cost, but could get some of that.
The initial thought in this is they would be willing to do that same type of thing. Now, they also got a special exception on Hopkins Church from county health departments. I understand it, that not everybody had to tap in as soon as that line was made available. I don't know if they would grant that again or not,
Yeah, that
because not everybody's gonna want to tie into this line.
That is,
Majority will.
that is,
The law is 10 years. The law, our law says you have to tap in.
yes, well, when there's a sanitary sewer side, a certain number of feet from that line, mandatory connections. If you don't tap in, you can still charge them for their connection, even though they don't process, you don't charge them for that. On the water side, we did have a letter from Allegheny County. They had their own requirement, and it was something like 100 feet from the line. There was a mandatory connection. You have to go back and see if they're still doing that or otherwise. Because otherwise, if you put it in right there, and somebody who wasn't in part of that, they can be compelled by the county to connect. And then there's we passed, an ordinance, to sort of set up this product. It's not our codified ordinance. We set it up via ordinance, so we advertised it, put it in place, that, and then there were, a couple iterations. Everybody sort of signed the agreement and had an estimate. We took like, 300,000, said we think it's gonna be X amount, but after we're done, we'll get a final number, and that will be an amended municipal claim, and so we filed it after, and we've been satisfying them.
Yes, they've all been satisfied.
Yeah.
None are still outstanding.
Right. And I don't know of any mandatory connection issues or anything that came up, like the county,
No.
not that they exempted it.
I think we had two property owners tap in afterward, and their money was redistributed. We had one property owner who he paid up front but didn't tap in. But he recently sold his house, so I had calls from a couple of folks who had paid up front. They said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I explained to them, "Listen, he paid as well. He just didn't tap in, and now he sold the house. They're tapping in. No charge." So if council is interested in us looking to see if there's any grant funding out there.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some public safety, public health grants, is that the way you're looking at? The address, like that one homeowner has undrinkable water. So it could be a case or a cause, get some special grants for that.
Yes, there are also H2O grants they come for various things. Yeah, we can look and see what's available and.
Just a question on the money, the Hopkins Church said that they've all, who's managing this money? Is a borough involved?
Oh, it's all done in.
It's them.
Yeah, borough paid up front, which we would have to do in this case as well, and the property owners reimburse us. Right. It's the idea of creating the water district. If they can't afford it, then we lien their property.
But is there an
Set up a payment
Yes.
plan for them.
There's an escrow company or something dealing with this, or?
I mean, this was, by and large, everybody, said, just put a lien against my house.
Okay,
Yeah, some took advantage of payment plans after that. They
Yeah.
all paid,
they're paying the borough.
and they're all paid up in full.
Yeah.
That's how this would work also.
Yes.
So we lien their properties.
In their property, and if they can't make payments on the payment plan, then it would, the lien will remain until they sell.
Yeah.
Satisfy
Yeah.
the sale.
And it would be, I mean, we would pass essentially another ordinance, with these specific locations.
That would be net, net of any grants. That would be related to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess how are we, I don't know, in the number that we estimate for them would take into account the grant. And I don't think there'd be any situation where, the state gives us money. We give money to Westview Water, they construct this line. Property owners who pay us back. I don't know if we would then pay out back the grant money. Think so, it should be that it's,
Wouldn't we use the grant money to offset the rate of pay though?
that's what.
Yeah, the grant money, the grant would have to be awarded before you move to, yeah. But the property owner has the feeling, well, is I mean, they've been living with this for a little while. They're willing to hang in there a little bit longer to see if we can get a grant out.
And there are other systems, you can get those giant water buffaloes.
Right, right.
Delivery.
What your days right.
Terms.
That is not, yeah, that is, I've seen those in other countries and they are not first world, so I feel they have a very valid case. They don't have drinking water in a very wealthy borough.
You should see the
Yeah. It's
the
valid.
machinery in their basement they have.
You happen to know what the cost was for this?
When you have it somewhere, I don't know. Probably
Something like
computer shut down.
15,000, I think. which
Yeah.
is Potentially less than 30s.
Refresh my memory, that's the 10 years. People have, those that had not hooked up and they go gone beyond that 10 years. What's this one? What?
They don't have to pay anything for the water line installation.
That's what I
They have to
remember.
pay for their hookup.
Yes,
Yeah.
their connection.
They're tapping.
Yeah, the tapping fee, that's all.
And I think the way we structured, that amount that was in the contract, that was in the lien, wasn't their tap fee, wasn't whatever they paid to connect to the line. I believe they did that separately.
Yes.
We just said,
Yes,
we'll
they're-
put in the line.
Yeah, the tap is all private.
And
They
they
take care of
got,
that themselves.
yeah, they were able to sort of coordinate economies of scale. Like maybe they found one, didn't have to do public bidding. It was find somebody that could boom, and knock them all out in a week.
Thank you. Does it also extend the hydrants on there too, I would assume?
Two items.
Two hydrants.
Well, they're saying they don't need hydrants. I
Yeah.
think they do.
Right.
I mean, they already bought it with steep hills on a heavy rain. It took them out of fire.
Maybe some, it's a good idea.
They may have to argue with the. fire
Yeah,
company.
two hydrants are in the plans.
Well, I wonder whether you'll locate where the hydrants are.
Yes.
Not over the hill
Yeah.
Okay, we'll proceed and I'll keep you informed.
Sounds good. Thank you. Volunteer project in the borough.
Okay, last week, we dedicated the library out in front of the borough building. I don't know if anyone had a chance to see that.
Yes.
There are a number of Girl Scouts here, a few parents, very nice little dedication ceremony. They had cookies and lemonade, I think, and then the mayor and Donna took them on a tour of the building, including the police department. Eventually, that library will move to Old Orchard Park. We have 5 other volunteer projects in the works right now. One Girl Scout project is 2 Girl Scouts who lost a friend who was a Girl Scout who passed away recently. They are designing a perennial garden, pollinator garden in Old Orchard Park that actually will run between the trails just above the rain garden, just above the fence. There are a bunch of old cherry trees there that we're going to take down for them, and they're designing a perennial garden with a trail that runs through it. And we're going to put a perky paved pad at the beginning of it and put 2 benches there and then put the library next to that. So people can sit there at the benches, read a book, and then walk through the garden if they'd like.
Rank, are you in the detention
Yes.
pond is there?
Yeah, the fenced in.
And they're gonna,
Just above that, between the, asphalt trails,
what's it gonna be?
it's gonna be a pollinator garden. Yeah, they're doing design work for that right now. And again, that'll be a memorial garden dedicated to a Girl Scout who passed away recently. We've, another Girl Scout troop, that is, going to do a perennial garden here at the Borough Building, down in front of the parking lot on that side. It's gonna be 25 feet by 35 feet. They're gonna plant seed. And we will put a walking trail through there. And again, we're also gonna put a turkey pad down there with, a picnic table so that people can sit. The Girl Scout troop, they're younger scouts, but they're putting together their plans right now. We've hooked them up with a mentor. She actually, works for Allegheny County as a naturalist at Autonomy Nature Center. And so she's been guiding them on what they need to do. We'll be putting a tarp out there to kill the grass sometime in the next couple of weeks. And they expect to do the planting probably in late August or early September. So we won't see anything this year, obviously, but we'll start seeing the results next year. We have 2 Boy Scouts looking for Eagle Scout projects. One of them is designing a little library that we're actually going to put next to the perennial garden here at the Borough Building. And he's designing that, has to have it done by November of this year because he turns 18. We have another Boy Scout working on a project. It's on the trail in Blueberry Hill Park. There's a section that's washing away and is always very muddy. And he is designing a boardwalk to cover that so that
How big is that? How many feet?
we think it's probably going to be 20 or 30 feet long. We have to do some stormwater work around it. We agreed to have our engineer be involved in it. So we're hooking up with Sean the next week or so to help him with design work on that. And finally, we have Swickley Valley Garden Club. I received a grant to do a pollinator garden for us at Lindbergh Park. When you get to the top of the hill and then you've got the lacrosse field on your left side, cricket field on your right side. You pass the lacrosse field on your left and there's the transformer and then there's all that area that we put in the new parking and it's all kind of cleared out. That's where they're going to put in the pollinator garden. And we'll also put a trail through there that will hook up with the existing trail system in Lindbergh Park. And they expect to do that planting this fall as well.
Wow, that's great.
So those are the 5 projects happening.
This was a good deal. Where'd they all come from? All this stuff? Just happened.
Talking to people, the garden club came to me speaking.
Yeah, okay, good job. Thanks. Okay, septic system.
Yeah, just want to let you know that, a house on, Big Swiftly Creek Road, the new owner, has a failing septic system, and apparently they applied for, permission for a new system to be installed, and we received, letters from 2 adjacent property owners opposing it. Because they were told by the engineer hired by the homeowner to contact us if they had an issue. I forwarded those complaints on to the county health department because it's DEP and the health department that regulates unlocked sewer systems, not the borough. Apparently, the previous owner last August applied for a new septic system as well and was turned down. So, well, if this is something different or not. In case you hear anything, it's out there and we've forwarded that.
It's not something we can deal with.
Nothing we can do.
How close is the line? Like, do you remember, is it Conborough, municipal authority?
They're not that far out.
Somebody was
It's
moving
not.
on something like a greenhouse.
Wait, what's the address? I'm just curious. So like, or where?
It's like 2616, I think it might be. Mike Peter gave me a sideways smell like taste.
Why is it shutting down?
Every once in a while, it just says, we found an issue. Good night.
Looks like, it's like Reeves.
Designed for authentication.
But do the neighbors have septic? I'm good.
Everybody has septic.
Okay. That's what I was
the
trying
beauty
to,
of it, yeah.
that's what I was trying to like.
The people complaining of septic is fine.
They're all-
No, there isn't. No, it's unlivable if they don't get a
Okay.
septic system.
All right.
Yeah, that looks like it's right off the state main.
So
I
the
think it's right around
application,
there.
there was an application filed to replace the old one. It was turned down last year by old.
Yeah, but I don't know what they requested
So it
versus
could be
what they're
engineering
requesting
thing.
this year. Yeah, it could be something very different.
Got it.
Put that in date.
Okay. Installation of sound barriers.
Okay, there is a Facebook post that
Yeah,
Brian had forwarded, and that's apparently gained steam. And to the point there, Representative Venkat's office actually reached out to PennDOT. PennDOT, as you can imagine, isn't keen on the idea of building walls along the highway. So he said the Venkat's office asked if we would be willing to consider applying for a grant, having the walls built ourselves. They said the complaint spot was 79 and 270. So I would assume that the only way to fix this is to put walls on both sides of both highways all the way through.
yeah, it would be great.
As our acoustic engineer told us, they have to be as high as the highest house that's affected. That could be 100 feet or more in some areas. So
I
Is
just
there
think back,
grant money available for that kind of
I don't know if
thing?
there's grant money, it'd be tens or hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's what this would cost. us.
Qualified.
But before you could apply for a grant, you would have to have, I would assume, a sound study done. So you can decide exactly what you need and then have an engineer design it.
Right, but I thought when I read that, isn't this just for a certain isolated area with the new development?
it's the new development seems to be where they tore down, where they tore everything
But they're
down.
getting,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
they're getting complaints from areas other than that. as well.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting
From all developers.
hundreds of appointments complaining, you're supposed to send us a letter.
Hmm.
I mean,
Northmont Farms also.
they're complaining about areas where the highways existed, where the neighborhoods.
It's your thought, we should pay for a sound study, or could the grant application request a sound study?
Well, through the end of this year, apparently, they can waive the 30% match, but
Uh-huh,
if you're applying for a sound study first, that would be a separate grant from construction.
that would be a
If you
fail.
generally can't apply for a construction grant unless you know how much it's gonna cost and what your plans are. to do.
It sounds like, and with your experience applying for grants, we need to do what we gotta do and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should keep pursuing the state. This is not something that would ever be in a budget.
But how's the state going to pursue this if the borough doesn't like put any effort to like push them to fix it? That's,
Well, I mean, we can keep pressure on them. How in the world do we ever pay for this?
so, sorry, I couldn't send a document out, but I sent it to region, John. But there's a document on the guidelines and whatnot. It was sent by Rick Pankett's office. I was traveling this week in Florida. But there's some items in there that might apply here, not just sound study, but other items. I mean, it could be a step forward to like getting them to do something about this. I mean, it's kind of like that interchange that's being built. I mean, it took a lot of pressure from trying to community to basically complain over a number of years, and that's kind of how they got rolling. I don't know what the final push was, because I'm surprised that it's actually happening.
Yeah, the federal infrastructure money. Because the way it was left to us was that it was never gonna happen.
So I think I was hearing from Max that it seems to qualify for some particular.
Yeah, there's a paragraph in the document that has it in there, but there's also other stuff in there that.
It's not, funds are hundreds of million, I
I
don't,
mean, that's a
I don't know what, I don't even know. where we get that.
Yeah, it's, but again, the idea is for, not for the borough to pay for this, right? So it's to grab money from elsewhere. But there's other, in the document, I'll forward it in, but the document has other things that apply that we're looking for, like street improvements, just other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
There's a lot that can be
Exactly.
applied for in that grant. I'm just, I
That's
don't know that, some area is gonna be a high priority item for funders.
Yeah,
But what the borough would have to decide, first of all, is where do you want the sound barrier to be? How long do you want it to be? when I visited with that Shadowbrook resident, he said, yeah, when the wind's blowing the right way, I can hear the highway. So I assume that means we need to protect Shadowbrook as well. Because there are people up and down the highway who've been complaining for years about the highways, right? So I think if you limit yourself to just along Deerfield Estates, you're gonna tick off a whole lot of friends.
Yeah,
It sounds like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, actually, my understanding is that we first need to do that some, and study just to find out which area will be like, will have the worst situation. Then we start from there, because you cannot that, I don't believe that, it's going to build like some barrier along like the whole like 79 or 279. So we first do something like that, because I have been approached by 20-30 residents from my Ward 1, and they asked, and whether or should reach out to the state government and ask for the noise or some, study.
Well, it sounds like they're trying to shift it over to us.
Yeah, and along those lines, but I mean, this is different than doing a sound study in the park where it's our property, we can set up microphones. I mean, if you're gonna get, do it all along, you've got a lot of private, you can do it for maybe public roads or so. That's gonna be complicated, but I don't know, I mean, this sort of multimodal, grant structure they have set up is one possibility, but I don't know if it's the only one for the PennDOT, because why would PennDOT want us to, be the contractor, put it out the bid, right? It's in their right of way, they control everything in the right of way, and they're gonna be the ones that does it. I just drove down 28, and they've got these weird multi-color, like go in one direction, they're doing something. I don't think that's the borough of Sharpsburg that is paying for that. Or Aspenwall, I guess it's a little further out.
I've heard is that PennDOT reconstructs roads like the way
Yeah.
they're doing things. Is that
And they'll
where
throw it
they're-
in.
Well, my other concern is,
Well, they're reconstructing up there, so.
we're not even halfway done with Deerfield, so to do anything like that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be how it is when it's done.
Right.
So to even do a sound study at this point, if that makes sense.
No,
But-
you don't have all the
But I
houses.
can feel like some study is the first step. Because then the people can complain that, oh yeah, they hear a lot of noise or something. But we need to have like some stuff to, some evidence to show that they, and open up, just to look at this noise level and then decide what would be next.
I mean, it could be, the result could be, this is the normal. Well, for a suburb, I mean, that's what it could yield, and that could be the end of it. But I think part of what's driving this is, yes, there is a lot of noise. But when you clear cut an entire area, that's a lot of noise mitigation that's gone.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And part of the solution could be, instead of walls, right? Is to actually start looking at prioritizing our ordinance states about the clear thing. That could be something to fix this. Or address the noise.
My position is I don't think we should do any sound studies until construction's done, or you consider it. Unless we think we're gonna somehow get it covered from the grant.
It mentions barriers, but it doesn't mention studies to put up sound barriers.
I mean, just that small sound study we had done in Park was.
It's 5,000.
It was expensive.
5,200.
If we're talking about doing a sound study along.
Is a sound study a precursor to asking for barriers along
Yeah,
the highway?
I didn't see any, at least in the guidelines. that
I
said
didn't
that.
either.
It just said, this is one of your potential uses of these funds, I mean, it's for transportation, right? Like,
So,
mention sound barrier.
I would be concerned about paying for sound studies, but if all we have to do is say, hey, our residents are complaining, there's tons of
Yeah.
noise.
Well,
along the
sure,
highway.
yeah.
We want to apply for a grant to fix that, whatever that means, at least we're.
I mean, as long as we're going on the design route, because that's.
Well, if you apply for a grant, you generally have to say how much money you need, and then tell them how much money you need, you have to have an engineer tell you how much it's gonna cost.
And that's expensive to get.
An engineer to tell you how much it's gonna cost, you
Yeah.
gotta do the design.
It's like the chicken and the egg for solving this
Yeah,
problem.
that's the way it works.
And who wants to like
You know, you see those barriers along the interstates, but they're not for a whole town, they're for a neighborhood, it
Yeah.
seems to me, you know.
I've seen
Exactly.
neighborhood there, yeah, when I was
Yeah.
traveling recently in New Jersey, there were whole communities where they had these baffle walls up, so that you couldn't even see the houses behind them, but they were definitely sound barriers.
Yes.
They weren't ugly, but then we talked about different types of
Yeah.
aesthetics, they were obviously well planned, and I don't know if the developers actually paid for them.
Well, the turnpike
because
is
of where
much
they were.
nicer.
Yeah, right.
They look like
the developer.
Yeah.
There's no way to rebuild it or.
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah, so part of the development cost for
They
that
should
plan
include-
was the baffle walls, yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, another thing to think about here, long term. You know, the rampant deer problem we do have, and so over the weekend I was in like fun in a more rural area. They do have these walls, part of the reason, they have it is deer running across the highway. So it is a matter of time before you're gonna start having that problem in the borough, and the borough is the first responder that has to deal with any issues there first, so. This could be one way for deer mitigation.
That's not a good way of calling the herd, though, is it?
Well, no, I'm on to that.
It's just you, what sheriff person.
No, not on each of the
28.
We're gonna be ones that are responding to the deer that got hit randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, just looking through this document, which I forwarded to you guys.
Yeah.
These are two senators who are showing up in 2 weeks. You ask them to pay for it, sounds like split it.
Yeah, it seems like also, I mean, the residents want to know who they should be talking to. Is it the borough? Is it a representative? Is there a department in PennDOT that you just tell them, because it's PennDOT road, it's.
Federal property, right? It's-
And that's been pretty clear,
federal.
they're not gonna do it.
How have they done that? Visually.
Told Representative Beckett's office, they told me when I was talking about the 79-910 corridor project that they will only do it if they have somehow with their project impacted the neighbors. And their only obligation then is to take it back to the level it was before they did their project. I don't think their
That's
rants are gonna
official.
impact
Yeah.
any of the neighbors themselves. So they will not do it.
Yeah.
Can I forward like a few emails on my worldwide, residents regarding this issue, and actually, I have gotten as I mentioned, 20 emails and recently regarding this one noise study and also some barrier. And my understanding is just kind of like we first probably would request for a sound study, on how noise and the I-79 is or something like that. And so I think that they probably since I've received so many, and it's just like it's very difficult to go through the whole thing. And it looks like they have a group of the people, or like come together, ask to resolve this issue in the 1 second meeting. Just
Okay, I just sent that document.
From
oh, okay, you have.
Page 2 has a full list of things. You can use this one for.
So still, I cannot believe that since that there are so many residents reach out to us, and so we would like to know that is how to respond to their request. So first the question would be definitely I want to emphasize is sound study or noise study and whether we need to pay for that, or we can ask the PennDOT to
No, it sounds like.
So, yeah, can we
Yeah,
ask
you can
them?
suggest.
Yeah, can we ask them? Yeah.
Okay.
Could ask them now.
Yeah.
Their positions, they haven't
Yeah,
changed
they haven't
anything,
changed
so why are they such?
They are change. No, if they do one preliminary before you start with construction.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe at this moment, and we can reach out to the PennDOT and ask them like, we have a few communities that, are dramatically, significantly affected by the noise from the 79. So, shall we like look into that whether, we can.
What parts of 79, 279 do you want to be studied?
I don't think when you drive up 279, you've got a major hill going up like Sturbridge, at the top of that hill. You can go out to the edge of Sturbridge and you really can hear anything. So far.
But my understanding was 279 needs to be.
I'm not sure where.
Yeah, it would be like the north, it's, yeah, it's like those,
Should we be asking residents if they have issues with sounds that we know where, or?
yeah, it's
That community is called the Hunters Point.
Hunter's Point, yeah.
Yeah, Hunter Point, and I also feel that their field also that today, and that area, is also kind of like open up, and so the noise is can reach quite deep to some other communities. So we can certainly pick a few area to ask PennDOT whether they can perform it.
We can ask everybody to drive electric cars and trucks. I'm just kidding.
That's a good point. Yeah. We should let the residents know that.
Hunter's Point and, Northmont Farm sort of tie together. That situation, they did.
The green spot.
Just the because right now
Yeah.
we don't know and whether they.
Walk too is important.
Yeah.
And I think from the split up to the interchange, where you have a lot of the high density developments on both sides.
So I should ask PennDOT if they would be willing to do and pay for a sound study from the split north to the Franklin line.
I think those are where the high density.
I'd be happy to write that letter.
Go around the bend, you got Franklin Elementary up on the hill, and 279 is way down in at that point.
But, well, I just use Old Orchard Park as an example. When people play pickleball, some people hear it, others don't. So there are gonna be people all along that highway who say they hear the highway. So I'm just asking where exactly you want this to be, just because I wanna make sure that you're not saying to some resident, somewhere out, we don't care what you think. We're just looking at this one section of highway.
What did Representative MCAS office say, wage next slide, what they recommend?
They said they would support us entirely if we applied for this grant that put barriers.
That's not, that's.
PennDOT.
That's lip
No,
service.
no.
PennCat.
Representative Angus office. They said that PennDOT has not been receptive to it. Therefore, would we consider applying right now?
If I read that right, Reed, Borough would still be responsible for 30%.
Yes, that's correct.
Supposedly through the end of this year, potentially we wouldn't be. But again, that means to apply for that grant. If we wanted for the construction of the wall, we would have to have. We'd have to know how much we're gonna pay for that wall, and exactly where it's going to be and all those. They don't award grants just based on a thought.
So if I heard you right, that would have to be accomplished this year.
Yes.
To
To
avoid.
avoid the 30%.
That was from a fiscal code provision as part of the budget negotiations of the state.
Unless they extend that.
If that takes that, we'll add it again in this next.
That's a tough one. All the problems we have.
There's no federal highway money, that's a federal highway as well.
Reach one of,
I guess go for English.
one of the things in the bottom of the email, there's a contact at PennDOT, I don't know. That person can just explain this, the pros and cons, maybe. I mean, this may not be something with student, but it might be something where they basically fill in the blanks for us.
Maybe the criteria by which sound bulbs are built. Of course, that's gonna be ridiculous, yeah.
But they have a looks like there's a concept there that did final details or,
Is your name?
yeah, it was like at the bottom of the email. Let's see, it's,
Community and economic development. They have a phone number and an email address.
Matt. or the-
I don't see a name.
That's just House Majority Leader.
Oh, sorry, it's not the speaking municipality.
So we need to be in by July 31st. What this says. Deadline for applications is July 31st.
I don't think that's possible. To get to 30%.
Well, just put together an application, go where you want it, and how much I think it's gonna
And
cost.
annually between March 1st and July 30th.
Deadline for applications.
But the actual document itself says it's annual.
Maybe the better route, just since it's already July 5th, see if we can get PennDOT to cover the sound study. And do that, and then go from there. I mean, this 30% waiver seems like it's pretty popular. I can't imagine it's unpopular.
Yeah.
They wouldn't find ways to extend that.
Well,
Next year.
Reed can write the letter.
What, again, what, is it from the split
Yeah,
to the?
the
to
border.
Northern, to the border with Marshall? Sound study on both sides of the road.
And 79, 279.
I mean, I think that's the wide open area, like if you go past that on 79, you've got the hill there, you've got where the salt zone, our salt zone, and you've got Acorn Park, like over the hill. You know, I've been to Acorn Park, I know, I've never ever heard any voice.
I can tell you where I grew up. And get not, trees weren't cut down or anything, but we heard the highway all the time. Because we sat up on Wary Drive and 279 was
Yeah,
below us.
we did get
And it
it.
was just background.
But they, like, you know where Acorn Park is.
Yes,
I don't.
it's down
you don't-
over
you
the
don't
hill.
hear about it.
Again, I was told by Representative Beckett's office, it was 79 and 279, so should I ask Representative Beckett's office where on 279 people are complaining, or should I just assume that there are no issues on 279, even though they got complaints about it?
I guess you should ask.
I mean, I'm just,
Yeah,
because you guys represent everybody, and if you leave somebody out, and they come to you and say, why are you spending all this money, you're doing this thing, and why didn't you include us?
I think the only way you're gonna know for sure is gonna have to go take some reading.
Right. Yeah, so it's gotta be,
Well, the points include it all, I mean, I
but
think,
highways
Yeah.
all the way.
I think the biggest problem is gonna be the 79 in that segment.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're right, Reed, there's probably some isolated.
There definitely will be, up and down that road enough to know.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
In your sound, final point, in your sound study, it's gonna be DBA, essentially what levels you're getting or anything else. The
They're gonna be
complaints-
taking it from the road. right?
Well, yeah,
I
the
don't-
complaints may just be,
I
I can hear traffic, it's not so much it's super loud, it's not so much it's disturbing my sleep, it's just, I didn't hear it before, I didn't notice it before, and I just hear this hum, and I hear the do every once in a while, so like, a sound study, and the other thing they also say in sound studies, in sound propagation studies, their models just assume there are no trees, because trees don't add as much coverage as people expect or think.
Well,
And so
our-
that's what, I mean, I don't know what type of sound study you do for, could you hear it before and can you hear it now? Because it's.
Right, if they're going
It's not
off
a
the road,
DBA.
it's just gonna be inconsistent.
I
don't know.
You might get spikes here and there, but it's more of, it sounds like it's claimed, it's, I just hear the highway.
That's good point. So yeah, that is also my pattern.
It's almost like a survey you need,
Yeah.
like, could you hear the survey, could you hear it before? No.
And,
Can you hear it now? Yes.
They,
There
if
you
they only do like the roadside, and some study, it doesn't mean anything, because all the, how it will be exactly the same. But, and what they just, put the equipment in the community and then measure it,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
It's all
what we've
private property.
seen otherwise, I mean, they put that monitoring equipment up. They look at where it is, somebody gets little sections and actually listens to it and says, oh, that's a lawnmower, oh, that's an airplane going by. It's not as specific as, well, here is the sound coming from the highway.
So
Nobody has that type.
can we ask PennDOT whether they have also ask them for some sort of suggestion and how to just address this, local communities concern.
Yeah, part of that request.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the question of what type of sound studies, because could it be just anecdotal surveys? Could you just send out the postcards and say, look, here's the information we have, people. It wasn't audible before, it is now, or here it is. We don't have a DBA reading, you don't have a pickleball study or something that says no mitigation can really happen, here's what the levels are. It's more of a perception of highway.
As you said, anecdotal evidence by way of a survey across the line, so every.
Like asking.
I have heard about it, yes.
I think we're gonna go to the wall and start.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think I'll say yes, please.
Well, and what do these things look like from the other side? Who wants these giant walls?
Yeah, that's.
Never seen them on the other side, yeah.
Yeah, they're not, I don't know, I feel claustrophobic.
Yeah. Looming over you in the back when you used to have a view across the.
I don't know, my grandparents lived 100 yards from a railroad track and a train station. They totally accepted that. In fact, they developed a reputation for feeding the vagabonds of Toronto train. Over time, they stopped their own purpose. My grandparents' house, so, but that was kind of a long time ago.
Well, when I first became mayor, so we're looking for a long time ago, I had a complaint from a family at North Martin Farms. And Anthony Ambrose was there at that point. Ambrose and I both went and talked with them. And when they bought the house, however many years ago it was, they were accepting of the traffic that was on the road at that time. And then as time went on, now we got all these trucks and everything rolling through all the time. And I can tell you that I went out on their deck, which faces the road, and you could not have a conversation. It was impossible.
They're pretty high up, right? I mean, how high would a wall have to be to
Yes, right.
to shelter that?
Yeah, but it's
The hobo marking symbols, so the triangle with hands is the homeowner has a gun. Horizontal zigzag, a barking dog. But yeah, you can get a meal.
That's, yeah, they had the symbol for the meal.
Yeah,
for
right
sure.
there. All right.
Okay, well, so we're gonna apply to see what they'll do for the state, do for a sound study and take it from there.
Inquire. Yeah, right. Inquire
This is the beginning of a long-term conversation, I think.
Something in the. What is that?
Hey, shall we
It's
also
gonna
do
be-
a survey
Right.
and just some information?
Through the letter.
I think first thing first, find out, does that mean anything or not? I mean, PennDOT comes back and says, the type of survey, or the type of information we need is, your survey of complaints, or something like that. Yeah, you definitely.
Be the wrong
It's not-
survey, yeah, we don't want to do the wrong survey.
Yeah.
This is just an inquiry, but not applying for the grant. There's
No,
$100.
no.
In the fine print, there's $100.
Yes, yeah. Probably an ordination fee.
Yes.
Just a letter of opinion.
Yeah.
Inquiring.
Asking for a color.
Okay.
Marshall wants to know.
I do, 300.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Three other quick items, ambulance authority. I received a call today from Marshall Township's manager. Her board has asked that she reach out to the managers of the other municipalities that are part of the ambulance authority. They recognize that it's going to take a little while to work through all the issues they're trying to work through. And the ambulance authority has an immediate need for funding for capital improvements. Therefore, could we come up with a formula and a way to fund those capital improvements? So I told her I'd be happy to meet with you. So she's scheduling a meeting.
Well, it's time to consider our past.
They must have read Pidgey.
Yeah, right, yeah, Jeanette. Yeah. EMS down the tube, so it's real, it's a wake up, folks.
Speaking of PennDOT, I had the virtual meeting last week regarding the I-79 910 project. They wanted to know if there were any needs we had for connectivity for pedestrians and bikes while they were planning the project. I actually spoke to Ed Engler, the Franklin Park resident and founder of Blue Hills Bike Walk Run. And he gave me some suggestions. The first suggestion he had was to add a bridge, pedestrian bridge over 79. We agreed that probably wouldn't happen. So maybe they could put Jersey barriers at least along the bridge that exists on 910, so that the on each side there are probably 3 foot, 4 foot wide areas that maybe could be separated for bikers and walkers. And finally, he said maybe they could just at least paint like a bike and a pedestrian on those.
Target practice.
PennDOT said they really can't do any of those things, but they'll take a look at our comp plan and see if they could address it some way. They said they will not put crosswalks on the new ramps because the whole idea is to improve vehicle traffic. If you've got somebody pressing a button, shutting down all traffic at that intersection, that's going to screw everything. So my guess is nothing's going to come of it.
Ed did bike to the festival, did this practice what he teaches.
To reach it, they were asking for long-term or short-term,
They were asking for
the connectivity.
Connectivity.
Do you have words now?
something that things they can incorporate as they're doing this project.
There are people biking across the bridge right now.
Yes, there are.
I saw 2 high school kids on bikes.
They feel it's too narrow to put Jersey barriers.
Yeah, I mean, the bridge is gonna stay intact the way it is, right?
Yes, they're not.
Yeah,
They will not alter that bridge.
just the ramps.
The only thing I can think of is there's a shoulder on there now. That's the width of a standard vehicle. So I did see a bridge over the weekend where they had raised the sidewalk portion of it, or the shoulder portion. There's a curb. I know we're against curbs here, but it's like this tall. So there is some sort of separation, not a Jersey barrier.
Yeah.
I don't know if that could be recommended. So at least
There's no emergency lane anymore.
it
That
kind
totally
of,
wipes it
I
out.
mean, if you're having a real emergency, you could get on the curb. But it's kind of a separation so that a car couldn't like accidentally swerve into it. If it's going like a slow speed or whatnot. That would allow the person to like continue on. I mean, that could be an option. I have a picture of it. I can send it to you.
And also emailed me today, he said maybe they could just put the Jersey barriers on one side of the
Yes.
bridge and not both,
Yeah,
on the north
this
side.
is on one side. The other side is a normal
And that would
shoulder.
interesting.
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm gonna come back to them and say, could you at least look at, if you have to widen the shoulder on the north side for the Jersey barriers, make it a little bit narrower on the south side, would you at least do that? They said they would at least look at our comp plan and try to take it into account. Much like they get from PennDOT. They won't build a pedestrian.
Yeah. Okay.
And they also wanted to add to that, that they think they're on schedule to put the project out for bid in April 25 and complete by the end of 26. they discovered they did have to acquire some right of way. That's delayed it somewhat, but they think we can get back on.
Because the initial was kind of like it would be almost ready by 25, right? So
Yeah.
now it's been pushed.
They think done by 26.
The public comment, was there any public comment period or anything? Andy, I think you had comments about this, I don't know,
Or,
that interchange, and I think one of them was if you're coming in on the interchange, you can't continue straight on like a truck. If you're going southbound to 79.
Yeah, you actually have to turn.
You have to turn.
And then, there was a public comment section, I don't remember what everything said, but, there was, one of the things that I had voiced myself was, make it off of there, they have to turn, so what's gonna wind up happening, it wasn't so much at our intersection I was concerned about, is large trucks right now, when they come off 79, they stop, they cross over, and they get back on 79, because the missing ramps are not there. And as a result, they're stopping on top of the hill, crossing on top of the hill, and accelerating down the hill, get back on the interstate. The turnaround is not gonna be in Warndale, trucks can stop at the bottom of the hill, be accelerating up the long hill. So you're gonna wind up with all the accidents at the end of the Warndale ramp, it doesn't affect us directly. But now your truck's gonna be coming up on 79 going 30 mile an hour, trying to merge into traffic. Everybody can be cut in between, creating an unsafe condition there. The missing ramps will fix that, is what my argument was.
They did take public comment for this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they had,
They've done that.
they actually had a virtual meeting with public.
it was about 2 hour meeting, and 30 minutes with the presentation, and about an hour and a half roughly was.
Oh, well, yeah, there was a lot of comments.
It's on YouTube, or it's on-
Yeah, I was part of it.
All right. Words from council and mayor. You're good. You day.
Yeah, just two things. One, since we were talking about Damas 4 project and long-term projects, Justin earlier about like a 10-year plan potentially. I was just looking at our website, a few other municipalities, I think we might want to start putting something on about MS4, just so that I'm starting to get questions about it, for my HOA. I don't know if you are, but like, people are asking, it's kind of hard to explain, like going into municipalities. Again, I know I've mentioned McCandless before, but I just looked at theirs, pretty straightforward, rotate the theirs. Just take that, has a picture and everything, so it seems very easy to explain. Because we're gonna start getting questions about that probably soon.
Sure.
And it's a high cost replacement kind of thing, so if you could message it correctly. And then we are having a budget meeting July 13th, so I was gonna send you about this on here now, but something for everyone to do, some homework, come up with a cost saving idea. Bring it to the meeting.
Who can ask for a
I mean, you had,
Oh, new idea.
that was last year.
I think we need to ask. I didn't put it off far long as.
That's right.
You do. We need you here.
Good request. Good. For a little brainstorming. We want to ask staff to do the same thing.
Creativity.
Mayor O'Keefe.
I passed the Ava.
Ava.
I do enough, or comment. In terms of my project, the presentation work is all done, and I've been in contact with the middle school principals. So we're gonna meet either tomorrow or the day after to decide an official date for me to talk to the kids once the school year starts. And I can send you guys my presentation, or I can present it next week, whatever you guys would like.
Next week, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
What's your date that you plan? What's the plan at the moment for presenting?
Like what specific date?
Yeah.
We don't have one.
Don't have
Sometime
one.
in September.
That's what you're meeting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Why don't you do both, email it and then
I'll
do
do
a
that,
quick
yeah.
presentation?
I can send it after this meeting, and then at the next meeting I can run through it. Yeah.
Say something quick about the junior council position. Julia O'Keefe, who will be taking her pledge as the junior council person for next school year. Normally, we have scheduled already for Ava's recognition on July 19th.
Right.
And
and normally, the new junior council person would take their pledge in August. Julia has, some dental surgery that day. So we agreed that she will take her pledge in September.
Okay.
She's invited, she said she will come to the August work session, probably the September work session. But just to let you know, she officially will not take the pledge
So should
until
I keep
September,
coming?
so you're welcome to keep attending.
That makes me.
You're always, you're always
See,
welcome.
each month, we're gonna have to step. Another month.
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Lee.
Yeah, I do have, just want to check my email. And, I also have been approached by a few NASH students, including my son, and they are working with the American Red Cross. Recently they want to start the blood drive, yeah. And they need a space, and also would like to ask the borough whether they can, the borough can help them and either provide a space or also like they spread the word of, this activity on the website or something.
And we've had it here before, so, yeah.
So
We can definitely do it here.
yeah, can I ask them to reach out to you?
Please.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else? John?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, just real briefly, the other day I was, stopped at the Chief gas station up here and I happened to run into Howard, our veteran, him and his wife were.
Oh, yeah.
I saw them pulling in and I was getting gas and I wanted to talk to them. And I just mentioned to them about the Veterans Breakfast, which is coming up in October. And, so I sent them the dates and texted his wife and she said, yeah, they would be available for that. And I said, well, you'll be hearing from the borough. And I don't think any of those invitations or anything have gone out yet.
Not yet.
But, they're very interested in being a part of that. So I didn't seek them out, but I just happened to find them.
And Donna is
She is trying to get.
trying to get the word out there,
Address to veterans.
right? So any information that anybody can provide and let people know to contact us. Contact Donna.
Howard 100. He's turning 100, I think, either in August or September. He'll be 100 by the time that takes place.
Was he moving on?
World War II. He was in the Merchant Marines in World War II.
And he speaks really well, right, Tom?
He's very good.
Anything else, Tom?
No, that's all.
Luke?
Just real quick, Ingmar Franklin Park Little League is playing World Series, Little League World Series games this weekend. If anybody's around, they come out and support it. They're Blueberry. That's it for me.
Okay.
What's the date on that?
All weekend long. I can get you I'll send you the schedule.
Send me, because I'll certainly like to drop up. Drop up, sure, yeah.
Okay, I guess that's it. Executive session.
Okay. We jump with you in the morning.
Once I get there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.